Hello, welcome to another edition of This is Mappa. I'm your host, Stel. I've got Roy and Kiri. Gentlemen, it's been 2 weeks since we last did a show. How you guys been?
Good. A lot has happened.
Yeah, say a week is a long time in football, but in Cyprus, 2 weeks is wow. It's an eternity. Roy,
Yeah.
I'm fine. Hi Kiri, hi Stel. Yeah, everything's fine. I mean, in Cyprus, we've got a saying that says "mi hyrotera." Things can always be worse, sort of thing. So, yeah, but okay, man. How are you? Stel?
Yeah,
You
good.
always ask us. We don't ask you.
I've recovered from my tirade on Monday after the Olympiacos game. Okay. I've recovered from giving GOP a bashing, being blocked on Instagram by them. I've recovered from the tirade I gave them over the phone on Monday. Pardon, I'm good. I didn't swear at them though, so I was pretty.
No. You were an English gentleman.
Thank you very much. Jolly good. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the two games then that we've obviously haven't covered, and I want to start with our team, right? Omonia. We drew against Bafo, and we lost against Olympiacos. Yeah. The Buffer game, we've touched on both games on the No Choftes podcast, which obviously you can listen to on the Shoot the Events platform. And I want to get Kiri in on this as well to talk about his opinions, because looking at both games, the Buffer performance, as we discussed, was turgid. It was terrible. Got away with murder in that game. Then Olympiacos but it's still in Lefkosia. And we lose 1-0. But there were so many incidents in this match that I honestly believe, had it not been for the shitstorm caused by the media and other people after the Doxa game, perhaps these instances wouldn't have happened. And just to recap, Omonia lost 1-0 to Olympiacos. Shehu was sent off for Omonia in the first half. I think it was 35th minute. So Omonia played the majority of the game with 10 men. It wasn't a great performance overall from Omonia, but once Olympiacos went a goal ahead, the club stepped up. They stepped forward, they went more attacking, had 2 penalty shouts. One of them, I believe, was Stonewall, but wasn't given, which was the foul on Banayodu in the last few minutes. Omonia hit the post through Iai's shot. But again, another defeat for Omonia, Roy. And we could talk about things that we've discussed already, but how have you changed your thoughts since the last game? Because you didn't really speak too much about it in the No Choftes.
Yeah, I didn't have the opportunity because I was at work at the time we had the pod. So I heard the pod. I heard you carefully. I mean, you concentrated mostly on some referee decisions. You said some things about the game as well. The truth is that the things I'm thinking of are more about not the game specifically, but generally about the next day, Omonia, and how we as fans should react to things. So, but if we're going to talk just about the game, what I can say is that the game against Paphos and the game against Olympiacos were in some way similar, because we don't forget we had the game against Karabakh as well, week between these two games. It was a continuation of the concerning performances and appearances that we have, which is, the inability to create a lot, the lack of physical power, pace, strength, players out of form, and lines close to each other. The psychology seems to have taken a lot of players down, and the pressure is on. So I think under these circumstances makes it more difficult for Omonia to bounce back. But on the other hand, I've come to terms with all these issues that have been going on since the beginning of the year. And we took the first 2 or 3 steps towards the right direction, with Mr. Berg taking the responsibility after the game against Olympiacos, with Andreas Dimitriou talking to the press and answering a lot of the questions that the fans had. I heard that Papastavrou as well gave a slap on the wrists of some of the people there and told them that he needs them to shit together. And additionally, they're adding a person that knows Omonia and has been successful whenever he worked or in all the fields, Nikos Haralambidis. So that's a more general way I'm looking at it. Additionally, I want to say something to the fans, even though I know this is not the No Choftes podcast, but the fans should take advantage of this international break and take a step or two back, take a deep breath, and try and understand that they should try and be helpful as to solve the problem Omonia has and not put more pressure or cause more problems with their attitude towards the club. Now the games, like I said, were very similar in the sense that, again, we didn't create the end of the game. Just we had like 3 or 4 chances created. We weren't fast enough, weren't quick enough. But the strange thing is that some players individually, you see the effort they put is what you said. You can't blame anyone for lack of effort, but it's as if, you know, that's how much I can do at the moment. This is like the maximum the team can do at the moment for whatever reason, you know? So yeah, if you're asking me if I'm happy, if I'm satisfied, if I'm content, if I'm thinking that, you know, everything's going as it is planned, my answer is no to all of these things. But if you ask me if I'm confident that things are going to change, yes, I am confident. And I believe that we can do better, but it needs, it's time to roll up the sleeves and start, you know, working and not talking so much. And what we have been doing, not just us, but everyone, is just talking about the problems, but not actually doing something about them. So I think now it's time for us to start working on that. I don't know if there's a lot more to say about the games. Yes, the referee decisions, for me, you know, if you're playing bad, that doesn't mean that you deserve to get, you know, something from the referee, or if you're playing well, the other way around. It's 2 separate things. I thought that day the referee wasn't good. I don't know if he had intent. I don't know if it was the pressure of previous weeks. I don't know what it was. I have a slightly different, you know, opinion to you when it comes to the referee. I just think it was a bad day. The red card when Sheu got sent off, I told you before that I think it's because he followed through with his other foot, and maybe that's what caused the injury as well. So that was a bit, you know, dangerous. I don't know if, I don't want to say it was intentional. Maybe it was, you know, he just followed through and he didn't think, obviously, I don't think Sheu was thinking, you know, I'm going to.
He's not that kind of player, man. He's not that kind of player.
Yeah, he's not like that. But it's like when we said with Jordi, when he got sent off, it was dangerous what he did. And even if it wasn't intentional, it was a dangerous play. And like I said, it wasn't his right foot that caused the problem. It was the left one that followed through. I don't know if he had another option, or if he could have moved his body or his leg or whatever, so he wouldn't have caused the injury. And then the penalty again, I've seen clearer penalties not being given to Omonia. That doesn't make it right. But
which one are you talking about, though? The one on Gaguli or the other one on Panayiotou?
Because both.
The thing is,
the one on Panayiotou,
because Sida didn't put them in the highlights package. So even if I wanted to put it on this, I can't do it because it's not in the highlights. They conveniently left them both out.
Sometimes, I don't know if this still, because most of the time I go to the stadium and I don't watch the games on TV. A few years ago, and Kiri, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that they decided not to replay a lot of those fases just to avoid exactly this thing people discussing about it. So they sometimes do it intentionally, just so they don't cause.
Well, they love to make a meal out of it when it was the Omonia Doxa game the other week, though, didn't they? When Gaguli won the ball and they thought.
Yeah, but was that C Division or was it Primetel? I don't.
Primetel, I think it was.
I'm not sure if there is a conscious decision. I don't remember if anyone came and said this, but I mean the general trend is that the broadcaster for the home side is going to usually lean towards them with commentary or with the highlights, which is not good. If you see a tweet of mine from a few days ago, I said being a sports commentator in Cyprus should entitle you to a diplomacy degree, because they never take positions. We're looking at it here, difficult to say. Like it might be like breaking the leg or something, and they won't take a position. So I in general, I don't like the level of commentating here, but I don't blame the people doing the job, because I know it's related to selling subscriptions and not agitating fan bases and everything. And if you remember a month or two ago, Milenkos Poljarits resigned from Primetel because he said it, but he didn't say it. But it basically said, you either want me here to say my opinion, or you want, I'm being attacked every other week for what I say. So I think he had enough. So, but yeah, I don't want to digress from the general point here. But yeah.
It sounds like we're doing a whole podcast on this particular game at Kiri. But one thing I will ask you: what have you made of Olympiacos this season? Another managerial change. They've taken points off IL. They've beaten Omonia. When they lost Psalti in the summer, when they lost a few others, Zahariu, people were saying this team's going to struggle this season. But Olympiacos' scouting team, I don't know where they find these players, but they've been sensational.
Well, I have the last few years at least, I have Olympiacos in the kind of Doxa category in terms of like quote unquote model. They have good relationships with agents, and I've heard so many cases where a player is linked with a Cypriot club, and Olympiacos might be quoted, the player wants 10K a month, and then the player is linked with Omonia, Boela, and Orthosi, the player wants 30K a month. So obviously it's not about the general market value of the players per se, which is a roundabout way of me saying that Olympiacos might have access to certain players for less money than a top 4, top 5 club in Cyprus might have, which inadvertently, every year they result with having a few really good players. And then, they might move on, they might be bought. Ironically, they made money off a manager leaving them with Petrakis. But they've got some good players, like definitely like on the physical side, but also on the technical side as well. Like Olympiacos on the counter are a dangerous side. Last year as well, they had some good games, but they were quite dangerous on the break.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of like Southampton, really. They don't win much. I should say win many trophies. They win games, but they give the big teams a run for their money. Their youth academy is thriving, and they change managers frequently. So there you go.
Yeah,
that's my analogy. But let's talk about another team that has had a mixed season, and that's Anorthosi. They lost 3-2 to Aris after being 3 down after 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that.
19 minutes.
19, yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. And then they beat Apoel. I don't know how they beat Apoel, actually. Apoel played pretty well, in all fairness. But Artimata with another cracking goal to give them the 2-1 victory.
I'll just say something. Artimadas apparently doesn't score anything other than a belter.
Yep.
Every single goal is difficult to score. But yeah, shout out to him, I guess. But no, really good goal. But they were not bad against Apoel. Apoel were good the first 30 minutes of the first half, but even then, Anorthosi like quasi threatened to score in between sections of Apoel's dominance. But they were much better than Apoel in the second half. I mean, I'm not saying they shelled them with shots and everything, but they were the better side, and the goal was coming, the 1-1 was coming, and then obviously, yeah, the 2-1 as well. But I'm trying to decide if Vilidaya, when he scored, if that was a non-celebration or a muted one. It was he thought about it. Am I gonna anger them? But yeah, no, he kept it semi-cultured, I suppose, against Bayern and against Anorthosis, for whom played last season.
Did you notice how no one celebrated with him though?
Yeah.
Did you notice?
Yeah,
everyone was around Nadal, wasn't he? Nadal, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean he practically scored the goal, but I mean shout out to Vilidaya because you have to follow through.
Yeah,
you don't know. It was on trickling towards the line, but yeah. Yeah, I mean Apoel, we talked about the defending every other week, so not surprised they conceded 2 away from home. Christodoulos was interesting to me he came on in the second half. I mean, his set pieces, I have been known to be an AEK Athens supporter, so I have a soft spot for him for helping AEK win the league a few years ago. But his set pieces are just so good. It's the one thing that, his physicality is declining all the time. He's 34 years old, obviously some big injuries, but his set piece is really good. But he also had this solo effort in the second half when he came on, but he kind of like jumbled the final finish of it. But yeah, and also Lafferty in the first half, there was a bit where I can't remember if it was in Apoel's goal or when Apoel had a really good chance, but he wanted a penalty or a foul.
Yeah, it would have looked quite soft, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was. For a player who played in some tough leagues, Lafferty, I found it soft. Okay, he didn't give it, and to lose all that time on the ground and hands up and everything, and also because it affects your teammates as well, because they have to pause for a split second and kind of badger the ref and kind of like help your cause with the call you didn't get. But yeah, I think it was a bit poor from him. But yeah, there you go.
What did you make of the winner then? Because that went to VAR, a shot from outside the box. It looked like 2 players were in offside positions. Perhaps one of them was obstructing the goalkeeper's view. Maybe the goalkeeper should have done better as well, because Mikhail came in for Scoufet, didn't he?
When in real time, I thought this is for sure offside. I thought it was definitely offside, but actually not even about the player obstructing. I thought Wada was offside, but then in the replay, Wada came from an onside position. So then it goes solely to whether the keeper was obstructed. And I could honestly see it go both ways. But I wasn't too mad with the goal standing, But it's the thing that we've talked about this a bit before as well. It's not so much each decision, it's keep it coherent, keep it consistent. So the next time this happens, I think Roy brought this up in a previous episode. If you're gonna give this goal, you have to give it next time as well. If it goes to VAR next time for a shot from outside the box and the penalty box is littered with opposition players, okay, depends on the position as well. But if it happens again, let it stand. Same thing with Shehu's red card, which I'm on Roy's camp here. I'm leaning towards it being a red because of the wrapping around of the leg, but doesn't matter. Next time it happens, you have to give it as well. Give it the next time, because I think one of the major reasons why the fans are really riled up, it's because of the incoherent application of the decisions, even with VAR, which is a shame. that being said, I mean, sorry for going back to the Omonia game. I know you've covered it in depth on the No Chopters podcast, but I just wanted to bring something up about fan culture in relation to that, just very briefly. And how ungrateful are fans, right? I was listening to the radio the day after, and an Omonia fan called, and he was talking quite calmly. He wasn't, screaming all over the place. But he was saying some wild things, like, Chebovic doesn't have the easy finish. And then the commentators go, yeah, but he scored 8 goals last season. Yeah, but it was a fluke. And then he was kind of like degrading the manager a bit. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like being made like a 10-minute Omoniadi fan. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Because sometimes it has like a neutral fan has to view things from the outside to appreciate the work that's being put in. Because that guy was going on and on and on. And one of the guys who was hosting, a personal friend of mine, he goes, friend, are you sure you're an Omonia fan and not a hidden Apoel fan? But no, I just found it interesting. It's like you can't please certain people. Like a league title after so many years, it's not easy.
This is something that Roy and I have spoken about at great length this season about Henningberg, and it's always been the case of 2 top finishes. If you want to include the season where COVID ended it, so that's 2 top finishes, a quarterfinal of a cup, 2 European campaigns on the bounce for the first time in the club's history. What more do people want? They expect Omonia to be winning every single game, and we picked apart so many flaws of this season. How many things have gone wrong? But the bigger picture is this: the club has had so many injuries this season for key players, and it hasn't been 1 or 2 key players. It's been 5 or 6. So what do you expect if you take Apollon's best 5 players, Ajax's best 5 players, Apoel's best 5 players? Where would these clubs be right now? So,
I don't know about Apoel, man.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying, where would Apoel be right now? Take out Nadal, take out Kvilitaya. Who else have they got? That's it. Those 2 players have been carrying this season. Souza as well.
Okriashvili technically,
yeah.
But he should have been, but not really so far. But
there you go.
But I mean, Apoel against Anorthosi, the first half at least, I think it was the first time that I started noticing something, some sort of coherence in their play, some sort of patience in the build-up, some sort of combination happening. But I mean, yeah, let's see how that progresses after the break as well.
Well, this is it, gents. Very, very quickly, did something happen to cause a little bit of a stir between the 2 sides? Because I didn't really read the headlines. Did something happen?
Roy?
Kiri.
Does someone want to just summarize it in a diplomatic way?
Yeah, I think Kiri can do that better than what I do.
Well, because he's the seasoned journalist, yeah.
I mean,
he speaks a lot better English than me.
I'll give over.
I mean, it's not surprising. We've seen this 1,000 times with all the clubs. You have to. It's like almost like you have to play this theater, like this little drama, partially for your own fan base to say, we're fighting. They're fighting for the club. They're fighting for me. They're putting this thing on, and also for the next time to put some pressure on the refs, like it happened with after the Omonia Doxa game when everyone started piping up, and yeah, you have to put this on. I don't understand all the controversy with the Anorthosi Apoel game. It was fine. It was one major contentious piece of officiating, which was the goal. But with most people that I've spoken, everyone says, yeah, I could see why it was given.
Apoel asked for a penalty as well in the last minute with Arayuri. It was the second goal, I think, with an offside. Yeah, but it was really funny. Did you read the announcements between the two clubs?
No, I didn't. I didn't
I
read
feel like
that.
please do. It's really because they started blaming each other, the history about which is the most ethical team, and we and nothing was given to us. And Abuel likes 50-50s, 50 for them, 50 against the other teams, and that's how. Let's ask Abuel why after 2 years with VAR they haven't been to Europe and they haven't won a championship. Abuel doesn't like it because before Anorthosis had to score 3 goals, so 1 would be allowed, and Abuel answered back, and then Anorthosis is back, and I was like, yes, it's one of those moments you just want to sit back and light a cigar, watch it, and say, where were you fuckers a couple of weeks ago, huh?
Well, you know what I love about this, right? Because in anywhere else in the world, if it be the Premier League and the Bundesliga, a club will put out a statement. They wouldn't fire shots. They wouldn't mention names. They wouldn't point out things that have happened in the past. They just come up with a professional statement and that's it. Put it out as a press release. In Cyprus, however, it is dirty laundry everywhere. It doesn't matter. And it's like a tennis match. One hits one to the other, It's brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it.
The peak was last year with was it Omonia Apoel, where every other day there was a day when there was a back and forth every 2 hours, like with new statements. And because I was covering it at the time for the paper, I couldn't keep up because we have to go to the press at night, and it was like back and forth, and but
Apoel talking about ethics. My goodness.
Yeah, but also obviously the big one was the Dimo Catalogos comment that sparked 1,000 essays, 1,000 think pieces or whatever. But
it goes back to what we were saying a few weeks ago when we said it's just the protagonists that change. It's just the names that change. In football, it's not who wants to clear the football, is just who wants to be the one that makes it dirty the most. It's like a bunch of criminals in prison, but they're all criminals, but they're in there for different reasons. Not everyone is in there for the same reason.
We're in there for murder. What are you here for? Burglary. What are you here for? Arson.
Should we mention that the Football Association's headquarters were attacked, I guess, spray painted?
Wasn't me. I promise it wasn't me. I'm in London.
Which the funny thing was that they misspelled the referee's name. They spray painted Feoli's name on the walls, and they misspelled his name. And what's funny, because he was considered by, I guess, the neutral or the common opinion was that he was the best ref the season before. So if your best ref gets his name painted on the Football Association's walls, then I don't know. I don't know where we're heading towards, but
a hint and a half for what's going to happen.
This is Mappa.
I mean.
Something we forgot. Anorthos is also Papoutsos, who is the Πρόεδρος των Διαιτητών, and then
the chief of the Referees Association.
So like he's not welcome, and he should resign, and he's never welcome Andonis Papadopoulos, and if he steps foot here, we're gonna kick him out. Yeah, man.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You gotta love it, man. Well, gentlemen, let's quickly talk about Aris. Big spending Aris, backed by the Russians in what they call Limassol now? Little Moscow or something like that?
Well, you can pick and choose. I use Limassol Grad. By the way, I saw a stat today. I don't know if it's true, that there are as many Russian speakers in Cyprus as there are people from Paphos.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No,
that would surprise me.
I mean, a few years ago, there were like 50,000 in Limassol alone.
Yeah. So I think that we've got close to 60,000 Russian speakers in Cyprus.
Probably more, I would say, in the last few years, because there's a lot of Ukrainians who came here as well for work. Yeah, it's a big community. But with Aris, okay, first of all, I'm my appreciation of, if I'm pronouncing it, is it Stebinski, right?
Stebinski.
It seems like a very old school track. It reminds me of the 90s, where a Serie A reject comes to Cyprus and walks the league solely because of like finish and off the ball movement, like just two attributes. I mean, not to downplay them at all, by the way, but yeah, a really good player. A hat trick in 19 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Let's say 21 to round up against Anorthosis in the previous round. And yeah, I noticed the Aris now have a group of girls or women playing band instruments on the stands to create a vibe, if I can use that word. And also apparently the new Aris backer, which his name is escaping right now, but I think he's Russian, was so ecstatic with the 3-0 lead during the game against Anorthosis, where he basically made the concession stands free for every attending fan, of every Aris attending fan. It's like an all-you-can-drink, all-you-can-eat concession stand.
I think I'm going to buy a season ticket for Aris and have.
You'd be surprised how many Apollon and IL fans have told me the exact same thing.
Not a surprise, man. Not a surprise. But look, they Stepinski, the guy that you mentioned, he's on loan from Hellas Verona, isn't he? I don't know if they've paid the fee to loan him, because that seems to be a thing now, isn't it? You pay a fee to loan a player. But from what I've been told, from what I understand, there is a future purchase option of 2 million euros, which is, yeah, for Cyprus.
It's a lot of money.
That's not going to happen anyway. But
and it's a lot of money. But he is, I think, 26 years old.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's the main reason why you would slap that price tag on him. If he was like 30, 31, probably be 500,000 euros, something like that. But not sure about if they paid fee. No clue. But if they're paying his salary in full, that's still a big thing to get him off the books for a year.
Yeah, but he's walking this league at the moment, isn't he? And he's
actually quite happy for Boljaric too. He scored 2 of the 3 goals as well.
That's right.
He always had the quality on the ball, and I mean his brother as well. But I mean, obviously in football, it's not just the quality. But
is it the one who played in the academies of Atletico Madrid?
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy to come through those. That league. I mean, people think that the Spanish football is really only about technique and only about passing and all that stuff, but it's you have to have toughness as well to make it there as well. So it's not easy. I mean, for the expectation to be for him to go through the ranks and make it to a La Liga side, even if it's not Atletico, it's not easy.
Absolutely. Well, look, Roy needs to leave in a few minutes. So before you bounce, Filemon, one thing I need to ask you, AEK, at the beginning of the season, in fact, when we started doing the preview, I had a feeling they'd be dark horses for the title. They beat Olympiacos 1-0, and then they absolutely battered Apollon. Sorry, Kiri. Battered them 4-1. What do you make of AEK so far this season?
Firstly, I'd like to say a little bit about that game. I told Kiri before we started recording that even though Apollon was the only team that won the first 4 games, it seemed that when they would lose, they might lose with a big score because of the way and the style they're trying to play. Even though they weren't bad defensively, I'm not going to say that it looked like every game they can concede 4 goals, but because they sat behind the score and then I scored more. They opened up, and I thought that Ike did extremely well. Trzaskowski as well. I mean, we were talking about Stepinski, but what can we say about Trzaskowski? He's been in the Cypriot League for so many years. For me, one of the best players in the Cypriot League. Definitely, he's the best player Ike had in the history of what has been now like almost more than 25 years. But when was Ike established? So very
94.
good player. 94, so almost 30 years, just under 30 years. So for a player to be the best in a team in 30 years, it says a lot about him. The game, I think Ike, we mentioned before that Ike is trying after 2 years of mediocrity to go back into being that team that is going to be everyone's second team, you know, that because no one really hated Ike, you know. I've heard people saying, oh, you know, I hate Apoel, I hate Anorthosis, I hate Apollon, I hate AL. No one says I hate Ike, you know. It's a team that like, man, I'm going to hate Ike. With everything about them is sympathetic. You know, you feel they've got the home ground, they've got a nice stadium, you know, they've got some people behind the team who are serious, you know, they try to be ethical, you know, that they don't have anything in their history. That's okay. Okay.
I'll tell you what, their social media is excellent. I'll tell you that. And also the merchandising that they got right now, they've got these what's it called? They've got the soldiers masks. Have you seen them? And the shields for the kids. I mean, come on, that is brilliant. You won't see like a kid walking around in a looking like a defile, would you? You know, you know, what are you? I'm
a shamrock, right?
Yeah.
Like a what else? Aren't
you a broccoli?
A leprechaun.
Leprechaun. Well, he plays for Apoel, but he doesn't really play for him. He's on the bench.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
just because I have to go. I've got 2 minutes. I have to go. Like I said, it seems like after 2 years of mediocrity, trying to do something to build a team that's gonna titles. I think again, I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but on I can't say that they won't. They seem like a team that time's working for them. They've got a good squad. They put depth. Thiago is coming in as well from injury, and another 1 or 2 players. They seem to have a good balance between experienced players, some good Cypriot players as well. Not a lot, but some of them, some young talent like Naum and Mamas are good players. So I believe that Ike is going to be a really solid and good team. For me, it wasn't a very big surprise. Obviously, the 4-1 seems like a very big score, and it is. But this league so far has proven that, you know, everything is possible. Everyone can beat everyone, and everyone could drop points. It's really competitive. That's like a more general opinion I have about the league. But anyway, guys, I'm really sorry I have to go.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.
And we'll chat later, okay?
100%, Roy. Thank you very much, Philemon.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care, mate.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Apollon did play with fire a few games. But I mean, although Ike were really, really good, especially in the final third, and, you know, between Trzaskowski and Derbyshire, they've got some super high quality forwards. But I mean, the score was compounded by Apollon's, how do I put this mildly, like defensive, comical stupidity.
Are you talking about the third goal?
Yeah, but I mean, that just like, it was the cherry on top, you know. It was just not a day at the races for the Dimitriou. I mean, I feel sorry for him because obviously he's a Cypriot goalkeeper. I want him to do well, but that was not good. That was not good at all. and also, I mean, Jovanovic is injured, so he's trying to reclaim his place because he had a very extended run for Apollon where he did okay, but he didn't seem like, you know, a keeper in the title winning side, if that makes sense. He was not bad at all. Actually, when he did a mistake against an Apoel game where he came way off his line, gave a needless penalty away. And I mean, I wrote a very sympathetic piece for him at the time, but it hasn't seemed like he's grown much from then. And I know it's not easy if you're not playing consistently, but yeah, not a great performance against Ajax. But then again, wide open at the back. You know, the relationship between the goalkeeper and the defense is kind of mutual. Usually one feeds into the confidence of the other, and no one covered themselves in glory against Ajax. That being said, yeah, Ajax played really well on the break. Some good crosses from the left, from the right, some excellent finishes. I can't pronounce his name properly, but it wasn't the Triskovsky goal. That was
Girusko.
Yeah, Girusko. It's kind of difficult for me to pronounce it, but his finish was so good, so clean, really well struck. But I mean, there was a moment, there was like a 20-minute period where I was like, maybe there's a way back. And at the 2-0, Apollon pushed forward. They created some really good chances or some good situations where a good final pass might have resulted into something. But Ajax retreated. They were compact. They defended well. They protected the goal mouth quite well. And they just, when it became 3-0, it was, there was no way back into the game for Apollon. And after, I was expecting a better performance after a hard-fought win against AL, where the refereeing was called into question. I thought Apollon merited a slight win, although a draw would have been a fair result as well in that game to go back, because we didn't do an episode during that week. But I think overall the table is actually a fair representation of what we've seen so far from all teams. And one thing actually I forgot to mention about Ajax, it's not directly related to them at present, but one of their former managers is currently 6th in La Liga for Rayo Vallecano, Andoni Iraola. And there's a really good piece written by a fellow writer on my timeline on Twitter. I've retweeted it. So if you guys want to go check that out, for the Ajax fans among you, if you want to see how he's doing as a manager at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, just quickly on Apollon, your team here. I think the warning signs were there going as back as probably Aris. Was it 10th, 11th of September when you beat them 1-0, and Aris had a few opportunities near the end of the game. Okay, there was nothing really clear cut, but you could see a few chinks in the armor defensively. And then obviously you beat Apoel, who again have been quite terrible going forward, but yet they still created a few opportunities. And then obviously AL came to town, which I say it was a local derby anyway, so you know what I mean. But against Ajax, it's almost as if they identified your weaknesses defensively and just went at it. I mean, Ajax this season have been very solid. They've been compact. They've been very, how can I put it, efficient. I think that's the best word to use to describe them this season, because they like to stretch the play, but they can damage you through the middle. Matt Derbyshire likes to drop deep. Tchaikovsky just won't stop scoring. He's a goal machine. But I think that third goal that we mentioned wasn't, I don't know, it's Keystone Cops, isn't it? That's Benny Hill. You kind of want Benny Hill music. But the other goals, clinical, absolutely clinical. And I think, as I said, you guys have shown glimpses that you can be got at defensively, because it doesn't seem to be, maybe since Zalai left, I don't know, maybe, do you think that's fair? I don't think losing Justa has been a big loss to you guys, to be fair.
I'll mention 3 points based on your comments. So one is, so early in the game we conceded the first goal. It's something I keep mentioning almost for every team in the league, but Apoel, I've been very guilty of it, and Anorthos as well, which is defensive width. It seems like when a team is attacking, a lot of teams here have a tendency to gravitate towards that flank. So when the cross goes to the back post, so often, so many teams have conceded like that. Apollon conceded that one as well, and that was a 0-0. So it's not a case of overcommitting. It was a bog standard attack, and back post cross was just so easy for them to score through. That's one thing. The other thing is, and again, it's related to departing players. So Zalai obviously was a really good player. He was a really good player. He was a fan favorite because he was young. He was so humble, so determined. Even his dad was like, he made some really good comments when he was linked with moves away from Cyprus. But it's a combination of things. I think Eustace was a loss, maybe not a huge one, but obviously he was an experienced player. There's some intangible qualities that he might have brought that you're missing. That, okay, you might not be seeing the mistakes from his replacement, but then again, Eustace might have been talking to the defense. He might have been talking to the keeper, talking to his fullbacks. He was like a commanding presence at the back. But also, you've missed Pedro. Okay, he wasn't the same player he was when he first came to Cyprus. I mean, for me, one of the best right backs who've ever come to Cyprus, and it's a shame he hasn't got the league title to show for it. But yeah, obviously he wasn't the same player the 2 previous seasons. But that's another presence at right back who's kind of missing. Okay, we've got Mavrias and Filiotis. It's not quite the same. But yeah, there's a combination of things. But I will say one thing that is a difference between the AEK game and the Apoel Island Aris game. It's the way the score went. AEK scored early. AEK scored the second goal early. So then you're chasing the game very early on with a manager that at 0-0 wants to raise the defensive line really high up. At 0-0 wants to press really high up. At 0-0, he refuses to slow the game down and kind of like freeze it where it suits him. So and I'm not bemoaning those attributes, but they are characteristics of the way Zorniger wants to play football.
And he won't change either. You could tell he's one of those head coaches the way he's got his system. That's how he's going to play, and it's down to the players to play that system. He's not going to change for that.
Exactly, which is a very German attribute because it reminds me of, I'm not comparing them whatsoever, by the way, in general, but like Farke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Farke came up, same. Wagner, when he was at Brighton. They have this thing where, and it's a do or die kind of thing, because the utter commitment to how they want to play can result in some exceptional football. They have really coherent pressing systems, coherent pressing triggers, coherent attacking patterns. But then if it goes wrong, it really goes wrong. It really goes wrong. So I'm not bemoaning him, because I'm looking to see where we're at 2 months down the line, January. I think that would be a fair time to start delving deeper into how he wants to play. But yeah, his tendencies were conducive to us getting trounced with the way the game started. So I'm not too fussed now. Obviously, during the game, you know, seeing the scoreline unfold in that manner is not pleasant. But yeah, I'm cool with where we're at 5 games in. If I'll win the game in hand, there are 10 points, 2 points behind Apollon, 1 behind AEK, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But
they'll be on 10 points if they win. They'll be 10 points. Yeah. I
think it's a fair start to the league considering everyone's performances so far. Yeah. Obviously, plus or minus 3 points for every club. But yeah, I think more or less where each team needs to be.
Yeah. The thing is, I look at the league table, and at the beginning of the season, I said this is going to be a very close season, I believe, anyway. Because we saw last season how, Apollon and Omonia, and even AEL to some extent, were the three teams, chasing the title. And it ultimately went down to the penultimate game of the season when Apollon drew against Olympiacos and Omonia beat AEK, and the title was done and dusted. But when you look at the teams in this league at the moment, you can't rule out Aris to be in the top four. You can't rule out Bafo to be in the top four. You can't even rule out Aboel. As bad as they've been, they've got the players and the capabilities. Look, Scuffet, I think, is going to be one of the best goalkeepers. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. And for Udinese to be happy to let him go there, it's a bit funny for me. But he's a fantastic goalkeeper. Anorthosi, three of the four bottom teams are the top teams, Anorthosi, Omonia, and Apoel. So, yeah, apart from Ethnikos, who I feel really sorry for because, my mate Flori plays for him, yeah. I think it's going to be a difficult season for him, obviously. But the rest of the teams, I don't know. Do you want to just quickly predict your top four before we wrap it up, Ray?
Top four?
Not in any particular order, just four teams that you think are going to be in the top four.
I think if I had to go, I'm going to reverse engineer this and say, which club I would be the most surprised if they missed out, as in I'm quite certain that they'll make the top four, is AEL. I think they're not missing out for sure. I want to say AEK because of the scoring power. It's difficult. And then Apollon and Omonia, probably. I'm not favoring Olympiacos or Doxa, even though they play well, and Aris, because I'm just going by previous seasons where a lower ranked club started really well, and then second round they kind of drop off. We've seen Bafos, even with a heavy kind of like investment and a really good recruitment process, good starts or good sections, then they taper off. Good section, taper off. So I'm just favoring the traditional sides a little bit here, going by previous seasons. So I'll say in no order, Apollon, AEL, Omonia. Yeah. I think Omonia is going to bounce back. Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe, I'm not even going to try and be contrary about this. I agree wholeheartedly with that top four. I personally believe the teams that have got the most stability will be the ones that'll be in the top four. It's that simple. And the only reason I would have said Buffer maybe 2 weeks ago, but they just don't have the minerals. And I know Jason Puncher might be watching, and I love Jace. We speak quite frequently, and he won't thank me for saying this because he was talking to me about potentially winning the title at the beginning of the season. But again, listen, those are targets. Those are targets, and you can't knock them for having. But there's such a dysfunctional team from on the pitch and off the pitch. I can't turn around and say they're going to be contenders for the title. But listen, stranger things have happened in Cyprus. Stranger things have happened, as we say. This is
the one thing I think that the mid to low table sides have realized is that they need fans to come and watch them.
Yes.
I know Bafos have been trying hard to get people to come to the stadium, and Aris are doing the same now. They're trying to encourage people to come and see them, because it just changes the mentality of the players. They feel supported. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. It's a bit soon at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see the average attendance of Aris Bafos in a year or two from now.
Absolutely. Well, Kyriacos, thank you very much, man. It's been another episode of This Is Mappa. Before I let you go, do you want to give us your Instagram? No, I keep saying Instagram. I'm so used to saying Instagram with Royal No Choftes, Twitter and everything else, mate.
It's okay. I'm on Twitter at NICOLAOUKYRI. I'm on there tweeting sometimes about football, sometimes about business stuff. Probably not for this crowd, but
people still learning.
Happy to Any questions people might have, any translations of Cypriot related football stuff, happy to help.
Excellent. And maybe next week, maybe we can do a bit of a review of the Cypriot national team and how bad they're probably going to do in the international break. But that's it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, well, that's it, boys and girls. We'll be back very, very soon. So take care.